The San Antonio Spurs are one of the most successful franchises in the history of the NBA. Their 5 championships is the 5th most in league history. They've been home to NBA greats like George Gervin, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and Kawhi Leonard. The franchise set a record with 22 consecutive playoff appearances from 1998 to 2019, but now the team has missed the playoffs 4 straight years, and has looked much different from its seemingly never-ending period of success. But the team is now trending back in the right direction. They landed their savior in 2023 number 1 overall pick, Victor Wembanyama, a player who many have declared the best prospect in 20 years. The Spurs have a great history of drafting big men at number 1, with all-time greats Tim Duncan and David Robinson also heading to San Antonio with the first selection. Standing at 7'5" with the skills of a guard, we've truly never seen a player quite like Wemby before. There are those that expect him to be an all-star as early as his rookie season, but he's not landing with a hopeless team. It went unnoticed because of all the losing over the past few years, but the team has quietly built a very impressive young core. Jeremy Sohan is a do-it-all forward with scary similarities to Hall of Famer Dennis Rodman. He's also built a strong relationship with Wemby already, as he has picked up Sohan's hair-dyeing habits. Keldon Johnson averaged 22 points per game last season at 23 years old and is a proven bucket getter. Devin Vassell is an athletic wing who also has 20-point per game upside. Malaki Branham is their secret weapon, and Coach Pop has even claimed that he will be a heck of a player. I trust his opinion on what players can become. He had a lot of flashes as a rookie and continually got better throughout the season. Tre Jones is also a really steady presence at the point guard spot. There's a lot of very good young talent on this roster, and with arguably the best coach of all time in Gregg Popovich, they could be back in the playoffs very quickly. The San Antonio Spurs are entering a new era. Now let's take a deeper look at why. Before we get into the next phase of Spurs excellence, if you enjoy my content or watch a few videos of mine, think about subscribing. 96% of my viewers are actually not subscribed, so if you've watched me before and enjoy the content, drop a sub and comment down below. It really helps the channel. The team lost DeMar DeRozan in free agency in 2021, then traded All-Star DeJounte Murray last offseason. It was a dumping of talent in an attempt to be as bad as possible for a short period of time, and it worked. In the Spurs' only real season of attempted tanking, they finished 22-60 and landed the number 1 overall pick. It was a planned tank with all-time talent at the top. There was a clear generational talent at the top with Wembanyama, but also 2 other players who could be deemed number 1 overall talents in most draft years with Henderson and Miller. But the Spurs landed the top prize and can stop the all-out tank after just 1 season. Will they make the playoffs this year? I'd say that's unlikely, but the team should be competitive right away, and their future is extremely bright. The team has 4 or 5 players with all-star level upside, and the team has just done an excellent job of stockpiling talent. When people talk about the league's best young cores, they often mention the Thunder, Pistons, Magic, Rockets, Pacers, and others, but the Spurs usually don't come up. They're flying under the radar, but they shouldn't be, especially now with Wemby. This is one of the best young cores in the league, and with all the talent they have, the Spurs are entering their next phase. They had the Robinson era, the Duncan era, and a smaller era where Kawhi was the guy. Now they're about to enter the Wemby era, and they've given him a great supporting cast. But to understand how good the young core is, let's take a look at the impact guys for San Antonio. When talking about the Spurs, you have to start with the new franchise player, Victor Wembanyama. He was the number 1 overall pick this year and has been lauded as the best prospect since LeBron. Woj even went as far as to say he's the best prospect in the history of professional sports. He played in the French League last season with Metz 92. He was voted the LNB MVP, Best Young Player, Best Defender, Top Scorer, and Top Blocker. It was a dominant season and showcased how great he truly was. If he becomes a 7'5" Kevin Durant, he would be the most unstoppable player we've ever seen. But what should we expect from him in year 1? I'd say he'll average somewhere from 18 to 23 points per game, 8 to 12 rebounds, and 1 to 3 blocks per. We might see some efficiency struggles as he gets used to it, and I'd say it's most likely we see him put up around 18 and 10. However, he will be a dominant defensive presence right away and provide more impact on that end of the floor. The biggest question for his rookie season will be how many games he'll play. He's been very durable and available in his career so far, but the Spurs could try to limit how much he plays considering his body type. Then we should talk about last year's lottery pick, Jeremy Sohan. The Polish forward was arguably the most intriguing rookie in the league last season. He went at LeBron on Twitter, changed his hair color seemingly every week, shot free throws one-handed, and it was better, and wasn't afraid to get chippy on the court. He was one of 6 players in NBA history to average at least 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 2.5 assists per game at just 19 years old. The other 5 players were LeBron, Carmelo Anthony, Luka Doncic, LaMelo Ball, and Josh Giddey. Great company to be in for Sohan. He was named All-Rookie in 2023. He's an elite defender, a great rebounder, and can be a point forward. He was compared to Draymond Green and Ben Simmons in the pre-draft process, and he's honestly just the perfect teammate for Wemby. He's been called the next Rodman, and there are a lot of similarities. There were 7 players 23 or younger to average 22-plus points per game last season. Keldon Johnson was one of them. 5 of the players have already made All-Star teams, and the other was Jalen Green. He's an elite scorer for his age. He was the Spurs' leading scorer last season and excelled as the lead option. He's a natural bucket getter and has proven to be a very good three-point shooter. He's physically imposing and powers through defenders to finish at the rim. His offensive game actually shares some similarities to a player I already mentioned in Carmelo Anthony. Johnson got great experience playing with Team USA in the last Olympics. There were 12 players 22 or younger to average 18.5 plus points per game last season. Devin Vassell was one of them. All the players in the group are viewed in a high regard as offensive players. He's a former lottery pick. He's also a slippery scorer who has improved every year he's been in the league. He's also improving as a shooter as well. He gets a lot of steals thanks to his quick reflexes and can get you points in the fast break. I'd consider Vassell to be a two-way player. A lot of people would say he's a better player than Keldon is, but I think it's very close either way. Over the past 5 seasons, there have been 11 players to average at least 10.2 points per game, 2.7 rebounds, and 1.9 assists. One of them was Malaki Branham. It was quietly a very good rookie season for him. Hoops with Nick made a video called "The San Antonio Spurs are hiding the NBA's next great scorer" in reference to Branham. It was very good. He would have been 3rd team All-Rookie last season, meaning he was just outside of the All-Rookie teams last season in my opinion, but still very, very good. He's a good scorer now and was a great shooter in college with Ohio State. He'll end up being a top-end 6-man with the current core, but could end up being much more than that. There were 6 players 23 or younger to average 6.5 assists or more per game last season. Tre Jones was one of them. All of the other 5 were All-Stars. He's just a very steady and underrated presence at the 1 spot. He's a pure point guard and just doesn't really turn the ball over. He averaged 13 points and 7 assists per game last season. His assists could be even higher with the addition of Wembanyama this year. In terms of lineup, the starters for the Spurs should be Jones, Vassell, Johnson, Sohan, and Wemby. Then the second unit should be Devontae Graham, Branham, Reggie Bullock, Cedi Osman, and Zach Collins. Guys like Blake Wesley, Julian Champagny, Sandro Mamukelashvili, and Doug McDermott could get minutes as well. So what should we expect from the Spurs in 2024? On the low end, they could finish in the bottom 3 in the West, then add another key piece in the draft next year. On the high end, they could finish 9th or 10th and make the play-in tournament. As I showed you today, the team has some of the most talented players in the league at their respective ages. It's a really solid young core for the Spurs, and they've built a respective roster in preparation for Wembanyama. Now they drop him in, and the team can be good. This will likely be a midway season for the Spurs, where they take a jump but not quite the playoffs, then make the playoffs next year. But either way it goes, the Spurs are going to be a very exciting team this season, and they're entering a new era. Thanks for watching. I'm Herm. Have a good one.